You want to know what really happened after SmackDown went off the air. You want to know why WWE doesn't want you to see the footage that's been leaked across social media. They tried to hide it. They tried to bury it. But the truth is finally out, and it's going to make you furious about how WWE has been lying to your face for months. Jacob Fatu was left for dead in that parking lot. Solo Sikoa and his so-called family walked away like he was nothing. Like he was garbage. After everything Jacob did for them, after all the blood he shed, after all the loyalty he showed, they turned their backs on him when he needed them most. But here's what WWE doesn't want you to know. Here's what's going to make you absolutely livid when you realize how they've been manipulating this entire storyline. Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes didn't just stumble upon Jacob Fatu by accident. They didn't just happen to be in the right place at the right time. This was planned. This was orchestrated. And the implications of what really went down are going to blow your mind and make you question everything you thought you knew about the bloodline. For weeks, WWE has been feeding us this narrative that Jacob Fatu was the problem. That he was the one causing issues within the bloodline. That he was the one who couldn't be trusted. They painted him as the volatile, uncontrollable member who needed to be kept in line by Solo Sikoa's leadership. But that was all a lie. A complete and total fabrication designed to make us believe that Solo was the rightful heir to Roman's throne. They wanted us to think that Jacob was just another expendable piece in their chess game, someone they could use and discard whenever it became convenient. The truth? Jacob Fatu was the only one in that group who still had any honor left. He was the only one who remembered what the bloodline was supposed to represent. While Solo was busy playing politics and making backroom deals, Jacob was out there putting his body on the line, fighting battles that Solo was too cowardly to fight himself. And how did they repay him? They set him up. They orchestrated his downfall. They made sure he would be isolated, vulnerable, and completely defenseless when they finally decided to make their move. The attack after SmackDown wasn't spontaneous, it was a calculated assassination attempt designed to permanently remove Jacob from the equation. The footage that's been circulating shows exactly what happened in that parking lot, and it's absolutely sickening. Jacob Fatu, barely conscious, bloodied and beaten, was lying on the concrete while Solo Sikoa stood over him with a steel chair. Not defending him. Not helping him. Threatening him. "You're done," Solo said, according to multiple sources who were present. "You're out of the family. You're nothing without us." And then, and this is the part that's going to make your blood boil, Solo raised that chair, ready to deliver what could have been a career-ending blow to Jacob's already injured head. That's when Jey Uso appeared. Not as a random good Samaritan, but as someone who had been waiting for this exact moment. Someone who had been planning this intervention for weeks, maybe even months. The look on his face wasn't surprise, it was determination. It was the face of someone who had finally decided to do what was right, regardless of the consequences. "That's enough," Jey said, stepping between Solo and Jacob. "This isn't what family does. This isn't what we do." And when Solo tried to argue, when he tried to justify his actions, Jey didn't back down. He stood his ground, protecting Jacob even though it meant potentially destroying his own relationships within the bloodline. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that's going to make you realize how deep this conspiracy goes. Cody Rhodes wasn't just passing by. He wasn't just in the neighborhood. He was there because Jey Uso had contacted him. Because they had made an agreement. Because they had been planning this rescue operation for weeks. Think about it, when has Cody Rhodes ever gotten involved in bloodline family business? When has he ever stuck his neck out for Jacob Fatu, someone he barely knew? The answer is never, because that's not how these things work in WWE. Nobody does anything without a reason, without a plan, without something to gain. Cody's involvement proves that this goes way deeper than just a family dispute. This is about power. This is about control. This is about who gets to shape the future of WWE, and Solo Sikoa was becoming a threat to that vision. Jacob Fatu, with his legitimate claim to bloodline leadership and his undeniable talent, represented a problem that needed to be solved. So they solved it by making him disappear. By having him attacked. By making sure he would be so broken and demoralized that he would never be able to challenge Solo's authority again. But they didn't count on Jey's conscience. They didn't count on Cody's strategic thinking. They didn't count on two men who still believed in doing the right thing. What happened next is going to make you absolutely furious about how WWE treats its talent. According to multiple sources, Jacob Fatu was rushed to a local medical facility, not the usual WWE-approved doctors. Why? Because they needed to keep this quiet. They needed to make sure that the extent of his injuries wouldn't become public knowledge. The official WWE statement said Jacob was receiving medical attention for minor injuries sustained during a routine match. Minor injuries? The man was unconscious. He had a suspected concussion. He couldn't even stand up without assistance. But WWE wanted to downplay the severity because they knew that if the truth came out, if people realized how badly Jacob had been hurt, there would be an investigation. There would be questions. There would be accountability. Jey Uso stayed with Jacob throughout the entire ordeal. He didn't leave his side, didn't go home to his family, didn't worry about his own career implications. He stayed because he knew that if he left, if he abandoned Jacob like everyone else had, there might not be another chance to make things right. Cody Rhodes, meanwhile, was working behind the scenes, using his influence and connections to make sure Jacob got the best possible medical care. He was making phone calls, pulling strings, doing whatever it took to ensure that Jacob would survive and eventually recover from what had been done to him. But here's the part that's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about WWE's backstage politics. This wasn't just about Solo Sikoa wanting to eliminate competition. This was about a much larger conspiracy involving people at the highest levels of WWE management. Sources close to the situation have revealed that Solo had been given assurances from certain WWE executives that Jacob would be dealt with if he continued to be a problem. That his concerns about Jacob's loyalty and unpredictability would be addressed through appropriate channels. What those executives didn't expect was for the situation to escalate to actual physical violence. When Jey and Cody intervened, they weren't just saving Jacob from Solo's attack, they were disrupting a carefully orchestrated plan that had been months in the making. They were throwing a wrench into a machine that had been designed to reshape the entire bloodline narrative in Solo's favor. The fact that this footage exists, the fact that it's being leaked despite WWE's best efforts to suppress it, proves that there are people within the company who are disgusted by what happened. People who believe that Jacob Fatu deserved better. People who think that the truth needs to come out, regardless of the consequences. The immediate aftermath of this incident has been a complete media blackout from WWE's official channels. No statements from management. No updates on Jacob's condition. No acknowledgement that anything unusual even happened. It's like they're hoping that if they ignore it long enough, it will just go away. But it's not going away. The wrestling community is furious. Fans are demanding answers. Social media is exploding with support for Jacob Fatu and criticism of WWE's handling of the situation. The hashtag Justice for Jacob has been trending for days, with thousands of fans sharing their outrage and demanding accountability. Jey Uso's actions have completely changed how people view him. He's no longer seen as just another member of the bloodline, he's seen as someone who stood up for what was right when it mattered most. Someone who chose loyalty to his principles over loyalty to his family's political ambitions. Cody Rhodes' involvement has also elevated his status in the eyes of many fans. He's being praised for stepping up to help someone who had no reason to expect assistance from him. For proving that sometimes, doing the right thing is more important than staying out of other people's business. But let's talk about the human cost of all this, because that's what WWE doesn't want you to focus on. They want you to think about storylines and championships and who's going to win the next big match. They don't want you to think about Jacob Fatu lying in a hospital bed, wondering if his career is over. Wondering if his own family really cares about him at all. The emotional toll on Jey Uso has been enormous. He's had to choose between his blood family and his moral compass, and that's a choice that no one should ever have to make. He's being ostracized by Solo and the rest of the bloodline, treated like a traitor for refusing to participate in what was essentially an attempted assassination. Cody Rhodes has also paid a price for his involvement. He's been pulled into a family conflict that has nothing to do with him, and he's going to have to deal with the consequences of that decision for months, maybe years to come. But he did it anyway, because he recognized that sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even when it's inconvenient. And Jacob Fatu? The man who gave everything to the bloodline, who sacrificed his body and his career for their success, is now fighting for his professional life. Not because he wasn't good enough. Not because he didn't deserve better. But because he had the audacity to expect loyalty from people who had never earned his. Even now, as this story continues to unfold, WWE is doing everything they can to control the narrative. They're pressuring wrestling journalists not to report on the incident. They're threatening legal action against anyone who shares the leaked footage. They're trying to make this story disappear before it can gain any more traction. But here's what they don't understand: the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard you try to suppress it. The wrestling community is too connected, too passionate, and too dedicated to justice to let this slide. Every attempt to cover this up only makes people more determined to get to the bottom of what really happened. The leaked footage is just the beginning. There are more sources coming forward. More evidence being gathered. More people who are willing to speak out against what they witnessed. WWE can try to intimidate them, but they can't intimidate everyone. And they certainly can't intimidate the fans who are demanding answers. This story is bigger than just one incident. It's about the culture within WWE. It's about how talent is treated when they're no longer useful. It's about the difference between loyalty and exploitation. And it's about what happens when good people finally decide they've had enough of watching bad things happen to people they care about. So where do we go from here? What happens next in this saga that has already shaken the wrestling world to its core? The truth is, nobody knows for sure, but there are several possibilities, and all of them are explosive. First, there's the possibility that Jacob Fatu will recover fully and return to seek revenge against Solo and everyone who participated in his attack. The man is called the Samoan werewolf for a reason. He's not someone you want to cross, and he's definitely not someone you want to leave alive after trying to destroy his career. Second, there's the alliance that seems to be forming between Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. Two men who have found common ground in their desire to protect someone who couldn't protect himself. This could be the beginning of something much bigger, a movement within WWE that stands up for talent who are being mistreated by the system. Third, there's the potential for this story to expose even more corruption within WWE's management structure. If executives were really involved in planning Jacob's downfall, if there really was a conspiracy to eliminate him from the bloodline, then this could be just the tip of the iceberg. But here's what needs to happen, and this is where you come in. This is where your voice, your passion, and your refusal to accept injustice can make a real difference. WWE needs to be held accountable for what happened to Jacob Fatu. They need to answer for their role in this conspiracy. They need to explain why they allowed one of their most talented performers to be attacked and abandoned. The wrestling community has the power to demand justice. We have the power to make sure that this story doesn't get buried under a pile of corporate PR and legal threats. We have the power to show WWE that we care about the people who put their bodies on the line for our entertainment. Jacob Fatu deserves better than this. He deserves to have his story told. He deserves to have people fighting for him when he can't fight for himself. He deserves justice, and he deserves to know that the wrestling community has his back. Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes showed incredible courage in standing up for what was right. They risked their own careers, their own relationships, and their own safety to protect someone who needed protection. That kind of courage deserves to be recognized, celebrated, and supported. This story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. The leaked footage, the eyewitness accounts, the growing support for Jacob Fatu, all of this is building towards something much bigger than any of us imagined when we first heard about the incident after SmackDown. WWE tried to hide this story. They tried to make it disappear. They tried to control the narrative and protect their own interests at the expense of someone who had given them everything. But they failed. They failed because there are still people in this world who believe in doing the right thing, even when it's difficult. The truth is out there now, and it's spreading faster than WWE can contain it. The question is, what are you going to do with that truth? Are you going to share it? Are you going to demand answers? Are you going to stand up for Jacob Fatu and everyone like him who has been mistreated by the system? The choice is yours. But remember, staying silent is taking a side. Ignoring this story is taking a side. And it's not the side of justice. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video. Make sure everyone knows what really happened after SmackDown. Because Jacob Fatu's story is our story. His fight is our fight. And we're not going to let WWE bury the truth without a fight. The revolution starts now. The question is, are you with us? If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.